Okay, ready when you are.
I'll call this meeting of the Seward City Council to order. It's Monday, April 15th at 7 p.m. And Deputy Chief Schaefermeyer, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Roll call for tonight's meeting. Calhoun?
Here.
Barnwell is excused. Wells?
Here.
Kreitz?
Here.
Finch?
Here.
Osenga?
Here.
And Mayor McClure.
Here.
Okay, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We have now citizen comments on any subject except items scheduled for public hearing. We have no public hearing items, so you can speak on anything. You'll have 3 minutes. There's a sign-in sheet, but if you haven't signed in, after all that have signed in speak, you can just raise your hand and then come up. And there's 36 minutes total. And when you come up, we need to have your name and if you live inside or outside the city limits, which I'm sure you all know. Mr. Clerk, who's signed in?
So there are 2 people signed in to speak. The first person on the list is Chris Fletcher.
Okay.
Come on up here.
Yes, please. Oh, yeah, there's a chair.
Okay, hello everyone, Chris Fletcher, inside city limits. I'm here on behalf of Seward Sports and Rec. Just wanted to give you all an update on some upcoming events. So this weekend we've got the Kite Festival, Saturday, April 20th, down at Marathon Campground, across from Little League Field. There'll be vendors and music on Friday night with a bonfire, and the event runs on Saturday from 10 to 3. Weekend after that, we're hosting teams from around Alaska for the Seward Alaska Ventures Volleyball Tournament. We still have 2 open spots for local teams to sign up. Round robin play will be at the middle school and AvTech all day Saturday, followed by a single elimination tournament on AvTech on Sunday. Middle school and AvTech all day Saturday, single elimination on Sunday. And we're still looking for volunteers for upcoming races. Pink Cheeks Triathlon is on May 4th. It's also a Saturday. And the Exit Glacier race takes place on May 18th. You can sign up to race at runsignup.com or volunteer at signupgenius.com or just stop by AvTech. We also wanted to let you know that we have a new dance cardio fitness class that's Mondays at 6, which is kind of hard timing for you all, but it's very fun. There's also a pickleball doubles league that will be starting in May and run through June 19th. That's that.
Thank you very much. There's a lot going on. Mr. Clerk, who else?
Tim McDonald.
Tim?
Us old people still got our groove on. We can dance. Tim McDonald, inside city limits. I was, this winter was the worst winter I've ever seen for downtown. I mean, there was like 2 businesses open, 3 businesses. You know, Thorns is closed, the Yukon, and maybe one other bar, and the health food store and the financial store across the street. I mean, maybe there was 1 or 2 others, but there's 30-some businesses down there, and way more of them were closed than open. And when I was a kid, this was a vibrant community. Everybody was open in the wintertime. Why? You know, we got houses going up all over the place, lots of people outside. Of course, we don't have any voters. We're not open in the winter. It's like the locals are being run out of here because of the cost of living. They're being driven out. Over 50% of the houses are owned by people that don't live here. You know, and for starters, we need cheaper energy. That's what the locals need, cheaper energy. And the point I'm trying to make is this up here. You've already heard me talk about it. You know what I think. But the side issue is the tunnel that they're abandoning. You know, like I was driving Anchorage, they got the new bridge on the flats. They're tearing out the old one. I'm thinking, what if there's another tidal wave? Maybe that bridge could break it or something. We have to keep the old tunnel. We can run it without the water out of that creek. We can run it with wells. The wells you have right there. Maybe punch one more and you know, change the water situation in, but we can fill that thing full of water generators and run it from pumped H2O. In the Venturi system, I'd love to explain it to you, but we don't have time here, but that's what'll make it viable with the pumped water. And that thing is a gold mine, and I don't know what Corps of Engineers has in store for it, but usually when they punch a new funnel, whatever's left behind, they destroy it, cave it in. And that would be the most ridiculous thing that could happen to us. That is an extremely valuable asset to bring our utility prices down. That is one of the main things that can run the whole town, you know, and there's so much money coming through here because the feds love us or whatever, we should be able to get it financed. So I challenge you guys to make sure, I haven't seen the contract, I don't know what's going on, why isn't it public? But whatever it is, you have to save that tunnel and keep ownership of it so we have a future in the power industry. And you know, if we did that, we wouldn't need to sell the utility, which is ridiculous. We've had our own utility for 70 years. Why do we want to sell it? You know, if it's being sold, it's because somebody ran it into the ground, and they should be punished for it.
Thank you. And that's all that's signed up. Does anyone else wish to speak at this time? There's a 5-minute time at the end too, so. Okay. Seeing none, I'll move on to the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve and a second, please.
I'll move for the approval of tonight's consent agenda and consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Are there any changes that people would like to make?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to
Calhoun.
pull Resolution 2024-026 from the consent agenda.
Okay. Any others? Okay, I don't see any hands. Mr. Clerk, I think we're ready to vote.
Okay, voting on the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda minus resolution 2024-026, which we move to new business. Osenga?
Yes.
Calhoun?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Finch?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, the agenda and consent agenda have been approved, and approved on the consent agenda were the March 26, 2024 City Council meeting minutes, the introduction of Ordinance 2024-005, approving the land use amendment to rezone Fort Raymond Subdivision, replat number 7, lot 10A-2, located at 905 Sea Lion Avenue from an institutional zoning district to an auto commercial zoning district. Introduction of Ordinance 2024-006, approving the land use amendment to rezone Seward Townsite Marathon Edition, Lot 29, located at 537 First Avenue from a single-family residential zoning district to a park zoning district as recommended in the Municipal Lands Inventory and Management Plan. The introduction of Ordinance 2024-007, approving the land use amendment to rezone Gateway Subdivision Edition Number 2, tracks C4, C5, C6, and C7, track C-6 located at 2301 Crabapple Street from a single-family residential zoning district to an institutional zoning district as recommended in the Municipal Lands Inventory and Management Plan. Resolution 2024-025, approving Amendment Number 1 to the employment agreement with the City Clerk. Resolution 2024-027, authorizing the City Manager to accepting the 2024 Volunteer Fire Capacity Grant in the amount of $6,303.67. Appoint Becky Dunn to Pat Cab with a term set to expire July 2024. And appoint John Howard to Pat Cab with a term set to expire July 2024. And that is everything.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the City Manager report, which you'll find on page 5 of the packet. And Madam City Manager, do you want to report?
Of course. Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I'd like to start with some things that happened before I traveled to DC. Brian Hickey with MEA has started as the electric general manager and really hit the ground running over there. His first 2 weeks or week and a half now have passed, and there's a lot of progress and good work being made and conversations being had. So we're really excited about that. And then a good portion of the City of Seward staff attended a tsunami workshop that week as well, learning about different scenarios and tsunami management plan. So that was a really exciting week 2 weeks ago. And then last week I was in DC, traveled to the Capitol with Harbor Master Norm Regents and Council Member Bob Barnwell. And we had a few meetings. We met with the Coast Guard, the USDA Rural Development, we met with 2 different units there, the housing unit and the community facilities units, which help grant and loan out different buildings and things that you might make in your community. And we met with the Army Corps of Engineers for the Lowell Point Diversion Tunnel, and we got an update that they're now at 65% design and no contract is awarded yet. So there won't be any contract until they're further along in the design, and then they'll have a full contracting day. And this is an important time for us to be involved in that conversation, because when they do go to contract, that's when conversations about road closures and things like that will be discussed. So we just want to make sure that the community voice is heard throughout that process. We also met with our Senators Murkowski and the staff for Senator Sullivan and Representative Mary Peltola. Mary Peltola and Senator Murkowski do what is called congressionally designated spending requests. So each year we submit requests for different projects that we would like to be included in the congressional budget. And we talked with the representative and the senator about those requests that we submitted this year. Senator Sullivan does not do CDS requests, but we were still able to communicate some of our concerns and our community needs. So overall, I would say it was a really awesome and exciting trip, a good visit with all of the representatives. And it was really great to spend time with Councilmember Barnwell and Norm while we were out in DC, and we got to see the eclipse too while we were down there, which was really exciting. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Ecklund, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to attend the Government Finance Officers Association training last week in Minnesota. That was really valuable, and I'll probably get a little bit more detailed information on my next CMR.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments for either of those wonderful people? No? Quiet bunch tonight. Well, I'm glad you did all those things. You might mention also we did have lunch with Senator Murkowski when she was here a couple weeks ago now, I think.
Yeah, we got to double down on some of our CDS requests, which was really nice. Senator Murkowski joined the mayor, Jason, Norm, and I for lunch at Zudi's, and it was a really great day. I know she also went and visited the schools, SMIC, the Sea Life Center, and AvTech. So it was a really great day to have her in town.
Thanks. Anything else for City Manager? Okay, moving along, City Clerk report. You got some stuff starting on page 13. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. We are excited to unveil this new e-notification subscription service, and there's a screenshot in the clerk report about how to subscribe to it, and then the list of topics that you can subscribe to, and pick and choose which ones you want to receive the notifications. And big thank you to our IT department for helping get this going. It's a feature that's included with the website, so it's no additional cost. It's just a matter of programming it and getting it set up and ready to go. And then, let's see, page 2 of the clerk report. We were excited to receive a magazine from our friends in Obihiro commemorating the 55th anniversary. If you don't have a copy of the magazine yet, we have some extras upstairs in the clerk's office. And then lastly, we have a couple new signs to point people in the right direction for which clerk's office to go to, because there's always a little confusion with the court clerk and the city clerk being both on the second floor. So just trying to help point people in the right direction when they get to the main foyer up there.
Thank you. And that's all really good. I did subscribe. I tried it out. It's easy to subscribe to that, and you get to pick and choose what you get, and that's good. And also, those signs are really good, because I don't know how many times I've sent people that way instead of that way when I'm in the buildings. So, any questions, comments for the clerk? Okay, thank you. Thank you for all of that. City Attorney report. We've got you right here.
All right, I am right here. Thank you.
Right here.
Our report is relatively brief. That's probably usually a good thing. Means we're behind the scenes where we probably ought to be. The One thing I just want to touch on briefly is it talks about a proposed ordinance regarding marijuana establishment licensing. It's another attorney in my office who's doing the heavy lifting on that, but I've reviewed what he's working on. It's largely, describe it as procedural, having to do with the licensing process, designed to come into compliance with, or get into sync with current AMCO regulations, and looking a bit like what Soldotna presently has in place. A couple items in executive session tonight, and so otherwise I think I'll keep mine very brief, consistent with those before me.
All right, we like brief. Any questions for the city attorney? Okay, keep up the good work. Appreciate your reports. And we have Cindy Ecklund here for a Borough Assembly report by Cindy Ecklund.
Good evening. Thank you for always inviting me and encouraging me to come. We had a Borough Assembly meeting on the 2nd, and I brought forward a resolution from the Resilience and Security Advisory Commission, which is a commission sanctioned by the Assembly, and it was recommending that the borough install some heat pumps in the across the water schools, or even some schools that don't have access to natural gas, like our side. Because the RSAC has done a study on how much it costs for those schools to put a propane truck on a ferry and haul it over to Soldovia and drive it to Nanwalek and Port Graham and Soldovia. And it was a hard fought night to get a 5-4 win on that. We just wanted them to put a heat pump in the gymnasium in one school and run some numbers and see what kind of savings it could be. The school districts are low on funds, and they pay for those transportation costs and for that heating. Borough owns the school buildings though, so the borough has to. They're not very well versed on heat pumps on that side of the peninsula. I think we have over 100 here in Seward, so tomorrow night at the assembly meeting that will be held in the community, anyone is welcome to make public comment on that you would like to encourage the mayor to do that recommended project, because it's a recommendation. He can choose to do it or not. So tomorrow night it starts at 6 o'clock, but prior to that meeting, many of you are aware that they have afternoon meetings. Tomorrow there's just a finance meeting that starts at 2. Well, budget work sessions at 1, which will be Bear Creek Fire, the Seward Bear Creek Flood Service Area, and the East Peninsula Highway Service Area, which we all drive that Peninsula Highway Service Area, and they've been having communication problems for the last 4 years that I'm aware of. And so I'm hoping with some of the broadband upgrades that are being done, or that we can push to have more done, that will help with those dead spots along the highway. At the Finance Committee at 2 o'clock, it's going to start with a presentation by Seward Senior Center Manager, Director Dana Paperman, a 30-minute presentation. And they are also going to have an opportunity to chat a little more and ask more questions regarding some of the items that'll come up on the 6 o'clock meeting, like the commercial passenger vessel tax appropriation, which we will get the full share of that this year. Homer did not have any commercial passenger vessels last year, so the Seward appropriation is $456,337.50. Following that, there will be a policy and procedures work session, and they will be awarding the contract for the Upper Salmon Creek revetment to hopefully help with some of those flooding issues out there. And of course, as mentioned in chatter before the meeting, the Seward High School track contract will finally get awarded, and Metco was the award, the only submission for that. The Salmon Creek Award was won by another local, Andrews and Sons. So, I'm happy to say that because they know the area well. And in fact, Metco, they all went to school up there, so they know what that football field is like. There is, the mayor's report happens during that afternoon meeting, but usually he waits and does it during the meeting that starts at 6. And there will be an award to the Seward High School wrestling team for their state championship award. I think that's all I really have unless anyone has any questions. I will add that the assembly meeting stopped meeting in Homer and Seward once a year during COVID. And last year after COVID, they didn't really want to come. They didn't want to go to Homer. They didn't want to come to Seward. They thought our council chambers was too small and would be too crowded, mostly for them because they said no people came. So those two things, I'm encouraging people to show up tomorrow night over at the library and give public comment. Show them that we're interested in, that we'd like to see some more support for our side of the peninsula. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't go away. Sure. I just wanted to thank you for that and ask, they Zoom their meetings?
Yes, it will be Zoomed. All the meetings are Zoomed, and you can Zoom in for public comment when you're on the other side of the peninsula as well.
And so where would people find the Zoom link? Did you just say, I mean, I know, but...
Yeah, it is on the Borough website, the main page. If you click on Assembly and Clerk, you'll find it there.
So if people can't get there or whatever.
Or call me.
Oh, yeah, well, that's always an option too.
I will text it to you.
Okay. Are there any questions for Cindy? It used to be, I mean, they came when I was on for the 6 years. They were always here, and there were 2 or 3 holdouts always that wouldn't make the drive over, but everybody sort of enjoyed being here, and then it kind of fell off, and you know, it comes and goes. But I appreciate the effort to get them over here.
Yes.
So, got some people coming.
Hopefully once a year in the spring.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that's the last report. We have no presentations. We have gotten rid of all of our business by putting it on the consent agenda, except for the one item that was pulled, and so now we're all the way down to new business where I have put that item. And so it's Resolution 2024-026. Mr. Clerk, would you please read it into the record?
Resolution 2024-026, authorizing the city manager to modify the contract with Seward City Tours for the operation of the seasonal shuttle transportation services for the 2024 season in a total amount not to exceed $18,275 and appropriating funds.
Okay, and you'll find that on page 52 of the packet. And I'd need a motion to approve in a second, please.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-026.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Madam City Manager, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This resolution is coming forward. It is an adjustment to our cruise ship shuttle or the local free shuttle schedule, adding additional funding for an extended period since the cruise ships are arriving to town earlier and earlier. This would cover 3 additional large cruise days on April 25th, 27th, and May 1st, as well, totaling in total for the whole period approximately 183 hours of additional funding. And I believe Councilmember Calhoun has an amendment he would like to make.
Right. So, Councilmember Calhoun, you pulled it off.
Well,
so go ahead.
Oh, Madam Mayor, thank you. Yeah, I pulled it off because when I looked into it and started and actually was kind of curious at first why we were appropriating more money. Found out why, and then I looked into the contract, but the legislation states, or the request states that we pay for those 183 hours, $85 an hour, but the contract states that we will pay $80 an hour for additional hours. And so I felt that that was something we needed to take a look at and make an adjustment to. And I guess we have gotten that adjustment done with an updated invoice for the amount. But also, I had another question before we make an amendment, just to make sure that we're doing it the right way. The CPV funds that we have not received yet, that should be appropriated tomorrow, some of it. Do we know with that amount of money where that will put us in our balance for for those funds? Because if you look at the fund balance, it says CPV state $1.7 million. And I don't know that that's actually where we're at, but I'd like to get some clarification on where we actually are in that fund before we decide exactly how much money to appropriate.
Of course, I'll invite Suli, Finance Director.
Good afternoon. The CPV state money funds are 2.1 million as of today, with the 456,000 that should be incorporated. So if you added those to the 1 point, those funds that are in the resolution were for FY23.
So to clarify, we'll have after the appropriation tomorrow, we'll have 2.1 million. So the overage from this FY23 appropriation will be covered by the CPV funds.
That's correct.
Okay, Councilmember Calhoun.
Okay, so I guess the question I have, what Seward City Tours is asking for is $14,640 based on $80 an hour for 183 hours.
Yeah.
We funded the original contract from the KPB CPB funds that were all exhausted with the first contract. That's why we are allocating on the state CPB.
So the $456,000 that will be allocated tomorrow through the borough, that amount of money would still leave us short of where we needed to be.
That is correct.
For that contract.
That is correct.
And are we still looking to receive funds from the state?
Yes.
Yes.
So we just don't have the funds from the state yet either?
That is correct.
Okay. I guess my question is, and I apologize is why do we need to allocate more than the 14,000 if we don't have any of the money anyway? I mean, you're asking us actually with the change to allocate $17,360 would be the adjustment from going from 85 an hour to 80 an hour. So we're allocating additional money that we don't even have already. If we don't have it, we approved this contract without the money in the beginning.
Exactly. Exactly. So technically,
and so for 2024, this 456,000 that will be allocated tomorrow from the borough, wouldn't that cover 2024?
It would cover part of the 2024.
So the 1 year 2024 contract is more than $456,000.
No.
I don't believe that's correct.
No, because the first contract was covering 3 years of services.
I understand. It's 3 years. It's 23, 24, 25, or 24, 25, 26. Right. All I'm saying is if we're amending the contract because of changes for 2024, we're going to have enough money once we receive the money from the borough to cover 2024. Why do we need to allocate more money?
Because until now, the allocation was $825,000 as of today. That was the allocation for the contract. These are additional money that they are requesting for. And because those funds are restricted, we have to ask council for appropriation.
I understand that. I understand that. What I'm just trying to clarify is why we have to appropriate more money for 2024 when we don't even have the money for 24, 25, or 26 at this point anyway. If we're gonna have 456,000, that should cover 2024, and then we can allocate more money for 2025 if we need to. I just don't see a need to allocate additional money tonight for 2024's request of change. That may not make sense to anybody else, I'm just trying to clarify.
Vice Mayor.
So, thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess what from what I'm kind of getting off of this conversation is, we already have a contract for a set amount for 2024.
Correct.
And these are actually additional hours that are not in the 2024 contract.
They are not.
So these are so this is outside of the contract for 2024. So we've allocated funds for 2024's contract, but this isn't included in that allocation, so we have to actually add. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
So, but all we have to add is $14,640.
Right.
That's all they're asking for, but the administration is asking us to allocate $17,360 when you make the adjustment for the change in the hourly amount.
Okay, let me get Councilmember Wells.
Councilmember Calhoun, I'm going to ask you to help me, because I'm on page 53, and I apologize if I'm totally lost, but it seems the amount that they're asking for is $15,550, correct? Plus the 2720,
right.
And that was at 85 per hour.
Right.
And now at 80 hours, that's 1460.40, correct?
Correct. And
so what's the 17? Oh, that's the. Sorry, I apologize. That's the extra.
Right.
Answer my question. It's
I guess I'm
2700. I'm just trying to keep up because we, thank you.
Yes,
I apologize.
that's okay.
I apologize.
I guess
Okay,
I'm just not
Councilmember
totally
Calhoun.
understanding the need for the additional, and it seems maybe like a small thing, but for the additional $2,720 tonight, when we can look at, when we come to 2025, and there are 7 ships less, and because we'll have the money for 2024 without any additional funds, other than the 14,640, I get that part. I just don't know if that makes sense or not, to anybody but me.
Councilmember Finch.
So to throw a spin on this, so we allocate this money and something happens where the cruise ship stops, does that money come back or they keep it?
We don't have a
What is-
representative here.
What is?
Councilmember Wells.
Can we ask our city attorney what the contract states for that question?
I can.
Oh.
Yeah, so basically, and this has happened in previous years. It's just something that and it just and it's, they basically try and say, okay, we know that these are dates that they're probably going to be working within. This is our best guess, and they try and keep those windows as wide as possible without overestimating at the same time. So this has happened because they scheduled these earlier. But if those ships were to not come, they would adjust the rate. Or if they were to stop the season early, we would adjust the rate around that as well. And so we would make those adjustments if they did not operate, or if they cut off their season early because of late cruise ships, that type of thing. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Councilmember Calhoun, you had an amendment, or we want to get to that?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make an amendment. I guess it would be in the title of the resolution itself, but also in Section 1 and Section 2. And my amendment would be to change those amounts to $14,640 in each of those instances.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion. I have a question. That's the number that administration came up with in calculating the difference between 85 and 80?
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion? Councilmember Wells.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have one. So, Seward City Tours has already recognized this $80 over the 85,
Yes.
and is in.
They're in understanding and agreement,
Okay,
yes.
just want to make sure before we vote. Thank you.
Thanks for that question. Okay, are we ready to vote on the amendment? Looks like it, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, voting on the amendment to change the dollar amount to $14,640. Wells?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Calhoun?
Yes.
Finch?
Yes.
Osenga,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, that amendment has been approved and the main motion as amended is back on the floor.
Okay, is there further discussion on the resolution? Ready to vote on the amended resolution? Looks like we are.
Okay, the final vote for resolution 2024-026 as amended. Wells,
Yes.
Osenga,
Yes.
Kreitz,
Yes.
Finch,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, that resolution has been approved.
All right. That being our only item of business, I believe. You'll notice there's some informational stuff in the packet, minutes from Planning and Zoning and PACCAB, and a notice about upcoming meetings. Our next meeting would be April 29th. We have a work session featuring a Providence update at 5:30 on April 29th, and then our regular meeting at 7. Remember, we rescheduled from 2nd and 4th to 3rd and 5th, and I know that's thrown some people. Which brings us to citizens' comments, if we have some out there. This is the time you get 5 minutes, and there's no sign up. So come on up. I just need a show of hands.
Thank you, Cindy Ecklund, Inside City Limits. I've had a couple of calls from local residents or chats outside the schools. And one was concerning, I had 2 people talk to me about it. They asked if there was any discussion about a pier or a dock being built off of Lowell Point. And I can understand why with the tunnel going in and a mention of a road closure. But when I spoke to the Borough project manager, he had no inkling of anything like that happening. So I relayed that, but then I chatted with someone who was concerned if the Lowell Point Road is closed, how are people going to get out there? When it was closed for the landslide, of course, we had the companies, Millers and whoever else could bring passengers back and forth to their jobs and their vehicles back and forth. So I want to, since the city manager mentioned this is the time to start discussing those kind of things when the new tunnel goes in. I know that the Lowell Point residents are Borough residents, but you do also have the sewer plant out there. And the other comment that I've received from a public member is when we contracted with Seward City Tours for the free shuttle, which I believe is a great thing, did we make any concessions for the loss of income that the taxi companies would see based on that? Did we lower their commercial business license, or did we do anything to assist for their loss of funds? That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Those will be addressed. Anyone else wanting to speak? Okay, then we'll move to council and administration comments and responses to citizens' comments, and I'll start with the city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In response to the citizen comments, the Army Corps of Engineers and the city administration has been meeting with the Lowell Point Advisory Council. We set up a meeting last month that was well attended, and that will happen continuously to keep those conversations going. And I will look into the other question. Other than that, I just would like to add before closing that I attended the high school play this weekend, and it was phenomenal. It was an Alice in Wonderland play with children from all grades, and every single student in that did a great job, so congratulations to everybody involved in that. I was awestruck by the talent in our community time and time again, so thanks for putting on a good show.
Mr. Bickling.
No comments, thank you.
Okay, I'll start with Councilmember Kreitz.
The only thing I had was just to encourage everyone to come to the assembly meeting tomorrow night at the library.
Okay, Councilmember Finch.
I agree with Councilmember Kreitz. Please show up for the meeting. We want to keep our money here. You know. And thank you, Cindy Ecklund, for your information on the curious idea there about how's that going to work if they should put a bridge in.
Okay, Thank you. Councilmember Calhoun.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Appreciate the report from our Borough Assembly member, Cindy Ecklund. That's always nice to get that. And, you know, I just want to say thanks to everybody that worked really hard to get us through this snowy winter. And the times we had, I think everybody did a really great job. And the light at the end of the tunnel is coming, so it's almost spring. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Wells.
Yes. So I also want to thank Cindy for coming in and encourage everyone to go to the assembly meeting tomorrow. I know that I will be there and bringing some folks with me as well. Regarding the citizens' comments regarding Low Point Road, Army Corps of Engineers came in and gave us a detailed presentation with some concept drawings, if I remember correctly, which show the how they will divert the road, and it'll be a temporary bridge while they're working on the tunnels, and they have a full diversion plan for that in their prospectus drawings, which I'm sure our city administration could easily pull up. And then for Mr. Tim McDonald, you know, he consistently comes in and encourages us to do research regarding hydropower with the tunnel. And I would like to encourage him to bring a prospectus forward, since he's done so much research validating his claims and giving us a presentation to planning and zoning so that we would know where to start. And anyone else who has suggestions regarding hydropower, I would appreciate maybe teaming up with Tim McDonald and putting a prospectus and a plan together. Other than that, thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor Osenga.
I think I'll start off with just thanks to Kat, Bob, and Norm for going to DC and representing Seward and presenting all of our priorities to our delegates down there. I think that's an important function. While I realize that there is a meeting tomorrow for the Independence of the Borough, I do have to say that our Seward Community Band has a concert tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the Seward High School. Be nice if you could show up for that too, but I don't know how you can do both. And that's it, thanks.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, okay, well, that leaves me a whole lot of time, so thank you, Cindy. I probably won't make it because of several other commitments tomorrow, including if I can get back in time, one or the other, but I'll talk to the president of the assembly before I take off. I had the fun sheet of it's in several of the parts of the packet, and the city manager mentioned the tsunami workshop that was here. I got to greet them as mayor. That's one of the wonderful things I get to do, is greet people. I guess I'm good at that. And I also got to talk for a little while about my earthquake experience, which is always a good thing for me to be able to do. I didn't get a lot of time, but it was also good to see some of my old friends from the other side there. And I wanted to congratulate the two new PAC cab members, and I know that the terms expire soon, but encourage them to reapply. We had the Science Bowl here in March, and for the first time, well, I didn't participate last year because I was sick, but I didn't this year, and I usually do. But interestingly and wonderfully, Seward, I hear, our team came in third, which is really spectacular for Seward. And I wanted to congratulate the team members and the coaches on that. And I had written down before the city manager mentioned, if you didn't go to see Alice in Wonderland, you missed something pretty spectacular. It was, you know, I'm a critic of these things. I took my little grandson there on Friday night, and we were both pretty open-mouthed, particularly how they incorporated music into it. And I have to say, he recognized every piece that was played on there and was singing along with some of them. So it was a very, very good thing. They call it the Theater Collective because it has all levels of students, not just the high school, and also homeschool kids, and it was amazing. So I usually don't congratulate that much about that, but I had to for this. And I've got to say also that I've been meeting now every 2 weeks for quite a while with Anchorage Mayor Bronson's energy group. It's all the mayors of pretty much the valley and the peninsula to talk about, well, we don't talk, but get presentations from people who know about the natural gas issues and powering us up. And at some point, I will be giving a report on that. We're not done yet, but it's very interesting. I'm also meeting on a every so often basis tomorrow with a group of educators and people interested in education, including, of course, the superintendent and the principals here, to talk about what could be done to help out with our brick and mortar schools in Seward. And it's been interesting. So it's just one of those things I get to be part of. Jason Bickling is part of this too, and we'll see where that develops. So in the world of being mayor, you get to do a bunch of fun things like that. It's worth it. Does anybody else have anything to add before I move us along? Usually there is, but there isn't. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is we need to go into executive session with our attorney. And so I will make the motion to go into executive session to provide direction to the attorney and receive advice on potential litigation regarding a land use matter and case number 3SW-23-00046CI. These are matters the immediate knowledge of which would clearly have an adverse effect upon the finances of the public entity and which by law, municipal charter, or ordinances are required to be confidential. This is per Seward City Code, I wrote over it, 2.10.033E13. I've made the motion, I would need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session. Mr. Clerk, we need to vote.
Okay. Voting on the motion to go into executive session, Calhoun,
Yes.
Kreitz,
Yes.
Osenga,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
Finch,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, that motion is passed.
Okay, so in this executive session, we would have counsel and our attorney and
We would also like the city clerk to stay.
the clerk and city manager.
Yeah, and then Jason and I.
assistant okay, so that would be the ones. So give us a minute to kind of recombobulate, and I will gavel us out of this part of the meeting. And okay, I'm gaveling. And
Okay, back in session.
Okay, I'll bring the city council back in session at 8:35 to report that we were in executive session consulting with attorneys, and we are now complete, and I will adjourn the meeting at 8:35.